31,000 feet above the Mojave Desert at first light, Lieutenant Amelia Reyes felt her F-16 Fighting Falcon lurch, cough, and then fall silent. Both engines quit together. The twin spines of afterburning flames snuffed out like candles in a gale. The jet instantly became a 20-ton silver spear knifing toward a maze of granite needles. Everyone back on base had warned that rookie women melt under pressure, yet Mia was alone in hostile airspace, hands on lifeless throttles, eyes searching for a switch that officially did not exist. How had a brand new pilot been thrust into a classified mission? What secret preparation lay hidden behind her calm face? And how could any human being hope to land a powerless warplane before time ran out? From which city in the world are you watching this video today? Let us know in the comments. And if you believe that heroes come in the most unexpected forms, don't forget to subscribe. 2 days earlier, inside the fluorescent glare of Nellis Air Force Base operations, Colonel Victor Viper Daly stripped Mia from the red flag flight roster in front of 30 seasoned aviators. He slapped a pink Hello Kitty sticker onto her locker door, the adhesive smacking like a slap across her cheek. "Observation only, Lieutenant. Maybe you'll learn something before you wash out." The squadron laughed. Mia swallowed. She had graduated top of her class at Luke AFB, yet she was 26, 5'4", and according to rumor, the colonel's least favorite variable, female. What the room didn't know was that Mia tucked an MIT Master's in Aeronautical Systems behind her waist-length name tape. Late every night, while her squadron mates swapped stories at the O Club, Mia volunteered in the test cell with Major Greta Gearbox Lindholm, the maintenance chief who believed brains beat bravado. Together they installed an experimental Ram Air Turbine Plus, RAT Plus, behind a removable panel on tail number 880413. In theory, the tiny windmill could power a starter motor and relight a dead engine, but earlier prototypes shredded themselves at combat speed. No pilot had dared rely on one. Most nights she slept in a storage bay beside the jet, lulled by the hum of environmental fans and the smell of hydraulic fluid. She wrote equations on masking tape stuck to the wings, checking glide ratios against desert elevations. Gearbox called it PhD graffiti, but she kept every scrap. One evening, just before lights out, an old crew chief named Pop Jenkins shuffled over with a dented thermos. "Heard the brass say you're too green," he grumbled, pouring her half a cup of burnt coffee. Funny, the paint is always fresh on the jets that save lives. Mia pocketed the quote like a lucky coin. At 2 o'clock the night before convoy recon, a classified message rerouted an F-16 two-ship to photograph a suspected weapons caravan creeping along Groom Lake's forbidden fringes. Daly's scheduled wingman curled around a toilet, puking from undercooked shrimp. The squadron's backup jet sat red-tagged for an avionics gremlin, but Mia had already fixed the fault hours earlier, soldering a cracked ribbon cable with Gearbox's blessing. Desperate, Daly growled, "Fine, Rook, strap in his ballast. Touch nothing but the radio." Mia simply nodded, verifying that her name finally appeared on the flight order, even if in pencil. Pre-dawn on the ramp, desert air bit with the crisp promise of bad decisions. Mia performed a meticulous walk-around. She noted a fresh patch on the left inlet where a California gull had been ingested weeks prior, and she traced the RAT Plus activation cable to a thumb-sized lever hidden beneath her ejection seat. She snapped her multi-tool into a calf pocket. No checklist referenced that lever. No instructor had briefed its use. Still, she memorized its position the way some pilots memorize prayers. Senior Crew Chief Ramirez ambled over, wiping sleep from his eyes. "Lieutenant, you ever flown into a sunrise with no wingman who trusts you?" he asked. "Only in nightmares," she answered. Ramirez tapped the fuselage. "Then make the sun your wingman. It never blinks." The line sounded corny, but she filed it away. Takeoff at 5:14 felt ordinary. Afterburners bloomed violet. Tires chirped free of tarmac and the valley floor fell away into pink nothingness. Bravo 1, flown by Captain Sean Ghost Donovan, led the climb, his jet's silver belly flashing each time he rocked wings for position. 30 minutes outbound, ADOAX call sign watchtower radioed, "Possible bandits, Sector 305, Angels 25. Ghost pushed into burner. Mia stayed in trail, sensor pod filming high-resolution images of the dusty road far below. Trucks, tarps, suspicious antennas. Then the archaic wail of a Soviet SA-6 radar lit her threat receiver, a serpent coil of bars around her HUD. Ghost jinked hard right. Mia rolled left too late. A proximity-fused missile exploded 10 yards aft, lacing her intakes with shrapnel. RPM readings tumbled. EGT spiked, then flatlined. In 3 heartbeats, both Pratt & Whitney F-110s spooled to zero. The cockpit fan hush turned into a hurricane of wind outside the canopy. 31,000 feet. Sink rate 12,000 per minute. Impact in just over 2 minutes. Mia's mind flattened into crystal clarity, the world turning into sliding math. Aviate. She trimmed for best glide. 230 knots. Canopy reflecting the sun's first copper halo. Navigate. A dry lakebed. Delamar lay 28 miles east. At current sink, she might reach it if fortune turned merciful. Communicate. She thumbed UHF. Mayday Bravo 2 dual flame out declaring emergency. Attempting dead stick to Delamar. Watchtower barked. Negative Bravo 2, you will eject. Repeat, eject immediately. Innovate. She reached under her seat and flipped the guarded RATOC Plus lever. Nothing happened. Her heart knocked once, hard. Why? She scanned. A finger-thick cable ran from switch to bulkhead, kinked and leaking hydraulic mist where shrapnel had nicked it. Using 3 fingertips, she pulled off her left glove with her teeth, fished her multi-tool, and wedged the narrow pliers around the mashed metal. One hand flew the dying jet. The other bent steel in a freezing gale. Blood beaded along her knuckles, lifted away in the slipstream. On the third squeeze, she felt the cable snap free like a guitar string. The Ray T Plus whirled into the airstream. Cockpit displays flickered. Hydraulics groaned back to partial life. She armed the igniters. First restart, rumbling cough, then dead silence. Second attempt, a heavier cough, gauges twitching, flames nearly catching, then snuff. Below, sun-baked ridges radiated rising columns of heated air. 11-year-old Mia soared again in a silent glider with her mother, learning to read thermals by color and shadow. She banked toward the darkest slope. A pocket of lift rolled under the wings. Altitude needle ticked upward. 800 precious feet stolen from gravity. She dumped fuel to shave weight. Third restart. The right engine spat a fist-sized fireball, then seized. The left refused even that courtesy. Fuel lines were too torn. She slammed the emergency fuel shutoff to prevent explosion. 90 seconds to impact. Watchtower again ordered ejection. She keyed, said nothing, and concentrated on the cracked white polygons of the lakebed. Landing gear would never extend. Hydraulic reserves were a teacup in a desert. She selected belly landing, flaps frozen at 10 degrees. The lakebed rose like a tan wall. Prospectors camping along its edge aimed tripod cameras at sunrise, unaware of the inbound dart. Mia pictured ejecting, pictured debris shredding innocence, and rejected the thought. 70 feet, 50. She flared 3 feet above ground. Right strake kissing dust, fuselage slamming into salty crust at 155 knots. Metal shrieked, ventral fins ripped away. The radome spun off and cartwheeled past coyotes sprinting for cover. 2,400 feet of gouged earth later, silence settled like snow. It smelled of scorched sand and baking electronics. Mia's throat tasted copper. She safed her seat pins, canopy intact. HUD dead. She sat until she realized she was alive, then burst into breathless laughter. 3 prospectors wearing bandanas and bewilderment approached, cell phones raised. One yelled, "Ma'am, you just landed a rocket with no engines." Mia popped her canopy. "Nah," she replied, voice hoarse but steady, "just a glider with attitude." She climbed down on shaky knees, touched the dusty skin of the jet, and whispered, "Thank you." 40 minutes later, a rescue Black Hawk swirled dust across the lakebed. Paramedics checked her vitals. She waved them off. Gearbox jumped from the second chopper, wrench still in pocket. They hugged like sisters reunited from different wars. Gearbox inspected the RAT Plus, grin splitting grease-smudged cheeks. "Pilot input, device functional," Mia quipped. Gearbox replied, "Maintenance note, pilot badass." Back at Nellis, Colonel Daly convened an immediate safety board. Drone footage replayed the silent approach on a 20-foot screen. Each time the powerless jet lifted into that impossible flare, a hush swept the room. A Lockheed engineer whispered, "We never modeled that." Daly's jaw clenched. Before he spoke, Gearbox addressed the board. "Request formal data collection on Lieutenant Reyes's glide profile. Recommend immediate transfer to strike test. She just saved $35 million and validated RAT Plus in combat." Daly had no argument. So noted. Paperwork became legend in 3 seconds. Mia's call sign changed from Rook to Glider, and Daly's private dossier quietly retagged him. Deadweight after pilots reported his obstruction. Senators never heard. Classified filings vanished into vaults. Every fighter wing received a memorandum. Dual-engine flameout procedures. RAT plus integration. Reference Reyes, 31,000 feet. 2 August 25. Bold red ink added a checklist line. If dual flameout below flight level 350, deploy RAT plus, see Reyes glide path. Millions of simulator hours followed. The legend grew when the Pentagon invited Mia to demonstrate RAT plus to 4-star generals and civilian scientists. While aides clicked through sterile slides, she rolled a grease-stained cable across the podium. This $78 part separated success from catastrophe, along with the belief that every system has one more trick left. Reporters captured the line. Congress authorized reinforced cables and field kits by sundown. Weeks later, Mia mentored 5 brand-new lieutenants in the simulator bay. She loaded a scenario labeled Reyes Glide, engines out at 31,000, lakebed dead ahead, civilians underneath, 4 pancaked into pixel dust. The 5th, Cadet Dahlia Perez, scraped past with 3 feet to spare. Mia clapped so loud the tech flinched. "Remember that feeling?" she told them. "It isn't fear leaving the body, it's knowledge arriving." Outside, Daly, now in civilian oversight, watched through a porthole window and nodded. Change sometimes arrives one crash course at a time. During those months, she also wrote a 70-page supplement to the Emergency Procedures Manual, complete with annotated diagrams and personal notes, titled Things the Sky Taught Me. The pages circulated like contraband candy, copied and stuffed into flight suits across 3 continents. Mechanics quoted her margins. "If the book ends, write a new chapter." Mia endured the medical board. "Any dizziness or flashbacks?" "Only when paperwork drags," she joked. Cleared for flight, she found her new locker in the 419th Strike Test Squadron. Someone had peeled the Hello Kitty sticker and taped it to a coffee mug, reading, "Nevertheless, she landed." Gearbox, now her crew chief, handed her a replacement multi-tool engraved with 3 words, "Bend the Sky." Test missions ranged from hypersonic inlet trials to low observable sensor runs. Mia's calm voice slipped into live-stream classrooms. A high school robotics team asked, "Lieutenant Reyes, what goes through your mind when everything fails?" She answered, "First, breathe. Second, remember training is slow-motion practice for fast-motion reality. Third, measure choices by the lives they protect, not the career they jeopardize." Teachers later reported half the girls in that class joined aerospace clubs the next day. 6 months after the lakebed miracle, sunrise again painted the desert. Mia sat strapped into an F-16D, carrying a brand-new adaptive cycle engine, begging for Mach 2. The runway shimmered like molten aluminum. Tower crackled. Mach Night 1, cleared for takeoff. Runway 03 right. Winds calm. "Show us something good." Mia advanced throttles. The engine thundered, yet felt smooth, obedient, grateful. She whispered, "Let's dance." Rotation came at 150. She pitched vertical, punching through wisps of cirrus, contrails spiraling like twin helixes. At 41,000 feet, she leveled. "Control Mach Night 1, systems nominal. Beginning high-power run. Tell the rookies gravity is on timeout today." Far below, pilots-to-be watched telemetry crawl across screens. They saw call sign glider blaze green, impossible numbers Mach 215 and 65,000 feet, and leaned forward, breath-catching. Somewhere a girl traced the tiny icon slicing sky and decided to climb ladders someone once said were off-limits. That evening, after data offload and debrief, Mia stood under harsh sodium lights in Hangar 9, staring at the empty outline where her jet had been towed for inspection. Slow clapping echoed behind her. Colonel Daly, now in civilian clothes, approached with 2 paper cups of vending machine coffee. His face, usually granite, looked human, crow's feet deeper than war stories suggested. "I still hate the taste of humble pie," he said, handing over a cup. "When I joined, I wanted to be the youngest ace. Instead, I became the kind of officer who can't imagine someone else doing the impossible." He pulled the faded Hello Kitty sticker from his jacket. "Will you sign this? I want it framed in the ready room next to the checklist you rewrote." Mia felt unexpected warmth. With a maintenance marker, she scrawled "Fly Fearless, Lieutenant Reyes." Daly tucked it away like a medal. "I never liked that call sign they gave me," he added. "Dead weight is yours to retire whenever you're ready." 2 weeks later, Mia took a weekend trip to Alamogordo, standing on the same gypsum dunes where she and her mother had flown gliders. She carried a small bottle of lakebed dust and sprinkled it into the desert breeze. A pair of red-tailed hawks circled above, riding thermals she could almost map in her mind. She whispered, "I brought the jet in quiet, Mom, just like we practiced." A group of tourists overheard and asked if she was a pilot. "Sometimes," she said, "but mostly, I'm a student of air." One retired teacher began to weep, explaining she had lost her own daughter's interest in science. Mia spent an hour sketching lift vectors with a stick, turning sand into a chalkboard until the woman smiled again. A year after the Dead Stick landing, the Air Force Academy invited Mia to address graduation. Thunderstorms threatened the flyover, but cadets in spotless blue uniforms waited, faces tilted skyward. Mia stepped to the podium, helmet under one arm, desert wind tugging her hair. "People say resilience is about taking hits," she began. "I think it is deciding what matters when nothing works." She told them about Delamar, bent cables and prospectors with phones. She spoke of gearboxes' faith and engineers who keep iterating after midnight. By the end, rain swept the field, soaking dress blues and tossing white caps into gusts. An all-female demo team roared overhead in Vipers, each tail painted with a small glider emblem. Thunder rolled like applause. Cadets cheered. Somewhere in the front row, a little girl, daughter of a maintenance NCO, held a cardboard sign reading "Bend the Sky." Mia mouthed the words back. A private oath echoed through storm clouds. Later that night, she stood on the academy ramp alone, flight line lights shimmering on wet pavement. She closed her eyes and felt the rumble of jets echo through her chest cavity, like a second heartbeat. Because sometimes the engine that matters isn't bolted beneath your wings, it pounds inside your chest, daring gravity to try harder, and reminding every soul on the ground that silence in the sky is never final. In decades to come, instructors would pull out a dusty Model F-16 and point to the tiny plug beneath the seat. They would tell new cadets, "Here lies the difference between quitting and conquering, one stubborn cable and the pilot who refused to let go."